Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on October 6, 2024 at approximately 4:31 p.m. PST. Now I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everyone. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I personally use to make virtually every decision I do make. With this in mind, I know full well these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me. And they have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into today, and today we're going to go down a very different road, but I figure what the heck, we might as well. But before we get into it, we have Storm in the background. He is our primary defense structure here in the way of moderators. Before anybody comes up with a brilliant idea that he's trying to be a bully, understand, Storm volunteered to step in and make sure I didn't have another heart attack because of stress based on trolls coming into the room. The solution to the problem is this. I either have Storm in place, able to track down people and shut them down before they're a problem, or I close the stream. Pretty much boils down to your call because it's simple to me. Okay, and we have in the house, we've got LA Moon, another definitive gem of a moderator who never mind keeping tabs on what's going on, tracking time for me, because guys, I don't do that well. But she also keeps an eye on my physical health to make certain that I'm actually on top of the game and don't drop dead online. Although that would probably be a showstopper. Now, Joe Stewart, you are in with the gold. Well done. How you doing? Glad you dropped in. I trust the cemetery is giving you all kinds of wonderfully exciting information. And Nathan, our third moderator in the house, is a wonderful individual. He runs his own show as well on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Pacific. 7 p.m. Pacific. Okay, on Saturdays. Definitely drop in, give him a listen. Okay, he's got some great ideas that he talks about. Okay, now, today we are looking at the creative process and working with miniatures. Now, the thing we got to look at there is several years ago, I started writing a series of books. Everything was going tickety-boo until I went and decided that bottling all my emotions was a really good idea, and I had a stroke out of the deal. I am still in the process of recovering. Okay, I thought everything came back together except my left hand. Well, sad to say, guys, not the way it worked out. Okay, as it turned out, yes, the left hand was still messy. Still didn't work right. It's coming back online, but the problem was my ability to cope with added stresses went the way of the dodo bird. Fortunately, I did not lose any of my tact and subtlety, which, by the way, was not well developed to start with. Okay, so, taking a look at the Elderbachian Chronicles. And here we have, before we get into that, I want these guys at hand. Now, we are looking at all kinds of things happening, but this one is literally in the series. This is the 10th book in the series. There's a series of 12 I'm working on. Of course, I will tell you, have a stroke, have financial problems, your whole life goes into a tailspin. From here on out, we have found a way to actually mobilize things. But this is book 1. Technically, it's book 10, but it is the first book that went to print. Okay, that's the birth of the wolf pack. Then, and by the way, all of the books, all the work we're talking about is available at the top of the stream in the Buy Me a Coffee link. Okay, that would be buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ. Through that link, you'll be able to find all the books. You'll be able to find every way to contact me. If you're looking for consulting, which I've been doing for 37 years, I'm actually 38 now, okay, or virtually anything else, absolutely drop me a line. Okay. Oh. Yeah, Joe's just going, I was watching WWE Bad Blood 2024. I would love to. I don't actually have much in the way of cable, and as of this week, I'm going to be sharing off everything because my focus has got to be landing on my feet. Okay, now the neat little part about all of this is when I put these books together, that was book 1, came out really quick. Book 2, The End of an Epoch. Actually, book 11, but here's a neat little thing with these books. And again, this is the creative mind going into overdrive. Okay. If you take a look at it, and you take the backs of the books, that worked well, you see how they actually connect. All of the books are part of a bigger picture. Okay, we'll get back to those in a bit. But what I found was this. Now let me ask you this, guys. Okay. Let me ask you this. Where it comes to books, when you're looking for a book to get your attention, how long do you give it to get your attention? Like how many chapters? Okay. By the way, I am going to stick with them for the most part. But a couple of neat little projects. These are all tied to the creative side, which is the neat part about all this. I also found a way to link most of them together. Okay. But when you're reading a novel, okay, how many chapters do you give said novel to get your attention and hold you moving forward? I don't have it here. Okay. That's the first question that I look at. Now, I am not, if you will, number one, I don't read fast. Number two, I look at it and go, okay, I desire something that grabs hold of you and carries you. Okay, the first book I ever read, the first novel I ever read without a struggle was J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. Okay, now that all plays into position here. Now, where is right there? That all plays into position. That was the first book that I ever picked up that I didn't feel like putting down right away. Now, when I'm writing, and this applies to whatever genre you're writing in, I think, but certainly science fiction, science fiction, science fantasy, any action story you're striving to write for. Okay, now, the reason I use figures is this. Let me see if I can find somebody in here that actually adds up. Because I gotta find them anyway. By the way, what you're looking at here is a whole pile of figures. But I'm looking for a very specific one here. Now, what I do when I'm working with figures is I take a look at it and go, okay, I've got to write. Now, when we take a look at, do we got any individual? Don't think that is him. Okay, now bear in mind, okay, we take a look at this. This gentleman here, okay, this gentleman here is one of the wolf pack. So what did I do so that I can build figures, so I can write properly, so I can choreograph fights? I take a figure. Now, this little figure here, okay, you'll notice he's only about an inch tall. Now, this is post-apocalyptic, but what I've got D&D figures, Dungeons and Dragons. So I had to pick figures that I can recognize. Okay, so this gentleman, as you can see, is black. Okay, so I use him. Now, he's a 6-foot individual. So I use him whenever I'm whenever I'm choreographing fights. I take a figure like this. Okay, in this case, that is Blade. Okay, now Blade is an interesting individual. Okay, first of all, you gotta understand, Blade himself, it's not a question of is he going to get into a fight. It's when. Usually pretty quick. Because you gotta remember with Blade, so I've got a gentleman, you'll notice he's got a dagger in his right hand. This little short thing, I don't know how well you can see that. But that's a dagger right there he's using. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't show up very well, does it? Okay, and then he's got an axe there. That's because the figure had that. That doesn't mean that he is absolutely carrying these things. Okay, but what it does tell me is if I put this character on the table somewhere and I'm choreographing, I know exactly where Blade is. Okay, so that's where we start with it. Now let me get my eyeballs. Keep forgetting what I did with them. There we are. Not a problem there, Joe. You know, absolutely not a problem. The show on Spaced Out Radio went very well in my eyes. Ultimately, LA Moon's going, so you work out a fight with the fallen figures so it flows before you write the chapter? No. What I do, I mean, you're on the right track. I find the different figures, I put them in place, and then I move them as the fight is being drawn out so that I can keep track of where they are on the ground. Okay. Now, I'd love to show you how I set it up on the table, but that's not going to happen. Okay. But the reason I want this one in particular is because while I'm doing this, I go over here and grab, where'd it go? No, it's over there. I am looking, while I'm doing this, the neat part is that we have to get things organized so that I can get back to writing. Because this idea of telling people I'll have it out in a month or so isn't working for me. In case you hadn't noticed, it's not working for you either. Okay, but take this. There we are. And we grab this map here. Nope, not that one. Where did it go? Right there. Okay. Now, to keep the figures where I require them, and again, I will tell you this. Now, there's an old saying that goes, creativity is 90% inspiration and 10% perspiration. Now, I was watching Gene Simmons' Family Jewels one day. It was a short run series on TV. Gene Simmons, the lead of Kiss, turned around and he says, no. He says, right, creativity is 90%, it is 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. Now, here's the thing. I will back him up wholeheartedly. Rachel, how you doing? You are in with the silver. So, what I've done and what I'm doing here, as I find the appropriate figures I know I require, we just mark this one. Whoop. I think I did that wrong. Unless, let's see if it's got enough room there. Nope. Okay, that didn't work without. Again, this boils down to finding a way to get organized. There we go. Don't need that. I'm confused. Why, as I'm finding characters, okay, as I'm finding figures, what I do is I go, okay, who are the players? Now you gotta understand something. When we look at this, well, I guess you don't technically have to, but when we look at this book, the Wolf Pack, is a group of 7 individuals. Okay, so what I do is I find figures to represent them. Some of them I've already figured out, others I haven't. But part of what I decided to do here was go, okay, let's get it worked out so that we can now actually get the figures sorted and get back to writing properly tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. I'm done with things sitting around not working. Yeah, let's see, pop you over. Take this. Now, I don't know if you can read this. Oh, there you go. I've got this figure for the Wolf Pack. Now understand, these fine little tools, these fine little drawers, these are what, in one of the stores in town here, they put fresh mushrooms in. Okay, they work beautifully as drawers to sort things out in the old CD racks. No, I'm not, yeah, I can. Again, this is all part and parcel of working with figures. Get this one out of the way. Now, this little shelving, I'm sure some of you guys recognize these old CD racks. Pull that out, and you'll notice it's got all sorts of room in it. These blue bins, and you'll have to improvise on your own, guys. These blue bins work really well for sorting. Now, I've got all kinds of these around here. Of course, in all fairness, I've got over 500 figures. But, take this one. This one is for the Wolf Pack. Now, I know this chap here is Blade. Okay, I specifically picked that character out. Now, I'm going to, while I'm working on this, show you the rest of the way this works. That one I don't need. Boy, I'm going to run into a problem, aren't I? Actually, my throat's working really well, but it would seem my back is a little twisted. But, now, here's where you guys come in as well. This is the bin for the Wolf Pack, so it goes up here so I can find it. Now, what will end up happening is I'll eventually get all the figures painted, but I've got well over 500 of these things. Okay. Now, in the Birth of the Wolf Pack, understand you'd have to go into a little bit more behind us, as it were, as far as getting a handle on the actual storyline. But what I'm looking at this point, what have we got here? What I'm looking at this point is how do we orchestrate what's going on? So if I take a look in here, let's see if I can actually find one that'll work. We have, now understand, with the Birth of the Wolf Pack, okay, I asked earlier how long you guys give a book to get your attention. Now, understanding it's post-apocalyptic, I started it off in a bar. Okay, seemed like an easy way to put it, to start it. Take a look at Star Wars. When you look at Star Wars, you look at Mad Max, you look at just about any action movie. There's usually some sort of a central hub. Star Trek, they always use 10 forward. Okay, now, I started off in a bar. Neat little place called Casey's. So we start off in there. In the first chapter, there is the threat of a fight. There's a little bit of a fight taking place in the background, in amongst the descriptions. Okay, and one day I will figure out how to get the actual building drawn. Okay, to actually get it done properly. Quite honestly, at this point, I am now looking. I've got to get back in touch with Chris Holm to get some more of the pictures done for Races of the World. But I take a look at these pictures now, of these different figures. There's another character in the wolf pack, and this will work very well, likely. Just looking at a couple of figures, like I said, I have a whole stack of them here. Now, Wilhelm Schunter, okay, is, and you gotta really know, I can tell you something about it. Now, Jeremiah is ex-military. Did not like, now, do understand something, guys. I am 100% behind people that choose, the people that join the military or join first responders to, protect their families, protect the community, protect the country. I really am. Jeremiah is built, he is an ex-military. He left the military because he had a problem with all the rules that were being put in and all the times he had his hands tied and he couldn't do anything. Now, I'm sure some of you guys have gone through this. Whenever you write something, whenever you're writing a story, I strongly recommend write something you know about. Okay, Jeremiah left the military. Now, he was military. I grew up a military brat. I just never joined the military. Something about epileptics and automatic weapons. I don't know, kill ratio was off or something. But he goes about and finds a group of people to help put the world back in shape. Now, Lord knows we can use that, but do understand the Wolfpack's methodology is volatile. Now, Jeremiah speaks multiple languages. I remember who I was looking at. What is this? For the moment, for literally laying things out, I can take this individual. Bear in mind, Jeremiah wears a long coat. Okay. And he does have a staff, but his real big claim to fame. Let's see if I got one in here. Because what I'm aiming to do is pick out characters that will stand out as proper characters for writing purposes, for choreography. And I do not see a better one just yet. This one dropped back to having way too many. So we're going to use this one. Okay. Jeremiah does have a staff eventually, but he packs a katana. Okay. Now, he is one of these people who'll talk his way out of whatever he can, but pity help you if you end up in a situation where you push him too far. He is a consummate warrior and medic. Okay, so in his case, he will try and sort things out. Now, if we take this neat little guy, okay, that I just put up there, we have Blade. Really good chap. Grew up on the street in more fights than you care to count. Most of them, quite frankly, because Blade was looking for one. Okay, so we have Blade and we have Jeremiah. That's 2 of 7. We'll put those here so I can work with them later. Understand, as I'm going through this tonight, I'm sorting things out to get it organized. Now, Wilhelm, who is actually the first character that Jeremiah runs into, the first other main character, is a former assassin. Okay, but if you notice on his back, okay, he's packing a lute. Now, he is not, in all fairness, a musician, but because I haven't picked the perfect figure for him yet, he is touted as a modern day bard, as a modern day storyteller. So we're going to put him in that bin as well. Now, somewhere in here, oh, I know where it is. Should be up front. I do know, I do have a female that I can't bring out right now, but I do know which one. When I go to get water, I'll grab the bin and bring her out. But when I do this, I lay all the characters out and then start moving them about. Now, since I cannot utilize, since I don't have a right handy, I'm going to just see what I can take. I'll take this one. This is not who I will be using, but for the moment, this figure here will work for a young lass by the name of Tanya Jan Scott. Tanya is an old-fashioned hillbilly. Okay, she is one of these people. There's a lot more to her. There's a lot more to all these people than what I'm telling you. I'm just looking at the birth of the wolf pack, where it starts. Okay, this is somebody that runs into Jeremiah, and they end up becoming very close friends. Okay, so that's 4 out of 5, and 4 out of 7. Now let's see if we can find him. What I'm going to end up doing is I take the people, and for instance, I take Jeremiah, and there is a point. Now in the first chapter, there's a hint at a fight. Okay, in the second chapter, there is a fully laid out, choreographed combat. Okay, but it's Jeremiah, who is the pacifist of the party, against 10 other people. Okay, 7 end up dead, 2 end up badly wounded, and 1 guy gets away in reasonably one piece. This is in the second chapter. Now, I write adventure. I certainly do. I write science fiction, science fantasy, but this is not for children. Do understand, they get pretty graphic in the battles, i.e., people get disemboweled, people have limbs removed in a heartbeat. Okay, Jeremiah in the second chapter goes into a full bloodbath. Okay, so the reason I use this is because I can move him about. I can set the different figures where I require them. Okay, around the area. Now you'll notice I've got 2 there. Put a 3rd one, so as they move about, okay, as these characters move about, I can see what's going on, know if they're facing an opponent or not. So if Jeremiah hits one, and I know he is going to be moving over to this guy who's over here, I can move the figure over to the other side. Okay, laying characters down so I can see in physical terms what the characters are up to. Now, we take a look at those are 4 out of 5, 4 out of 7. But I lay them out so I can walk the figures through. I also, as you can see with Blade here, I painted his head black. Well, Blade happens to be black. And for those of you that are going to complain about the color of his skin, don't bother. Okay, the thing is, I am doing my best to draw what I know is reality, meaning past lives, future possibilities, aliens, different technology levels, magic, the whole 9 yards. Okay, I do not pick one religion over the other, but you will find something neat. Blade, like I said, grew up on the street. Now, let's see if I can find one that works. This will work quite nicely. For the moment, there is another chap. Okay, and this one, for the time being, will represent Dirk Waterstone. Now, Dirk Waterstone, before the Great Collapse, was a phenomenal hacker. Okay, He just had a natural ability to get into computer systems. And when Blade and Dirk meet, okay, they become fast friends before the collapse. So I take these two figures and put them where I require them as I'm laying things out. I wonder. Keep doing that. It might be an idea. You don't need to see my twisted face anyway. If I train, that won't work well. Let's see here. That ain't gonna work well at all. But where did I just put it? Get those out of the way. And I'm doing this just so that we can get a little bit of a flat board. I can put Blade down. I can put Dirk down. Now, when Blade and Dirk meet, there's a bit of a conflict going on because there are a few people that are creating a problem for Dirk. Okay. I don't know offhand just how many I put in place. Right. It was written a while ago. But Blade comes in on this. Now Dirk is being accosted by these two people. Blade comes in, I can go, okay, here's Blade over here. He moves in, takes this guy out of the equation. And as he does that, he can now do a combat roll over here, which means he's now engaged the other character. Okay, yeah, this would be great if I had a different color paper, but you get the idea. Now I can take him out, and you'll notice I've laid them, well, maybe you won't. I've laid down the characters while I'm writing. Okay, now Blade and Dirk can become friends. Blade grew up on the street, Dirk grew up with a lot of money. Okay, but because of that, because Blade got carried away, Blade has a criminal record 8 miles long. Okay, he's been a violent kid for a lot of reasons. And I'm not going to go into the whole outline of it. The reason I'm bringing up the figures is because while I'm talking to you, I'm piecing together the ones I'm working with. Now, in here, we got to have somebody that'll fit for. Now, Ozzy, also known as, and get this. Now, every character I've got, every one of the mainstreams, they are built on a combination. They're inspired by characters that the gamers themselves built, and the way that the people themselves and the characters. Okay. Oh, fantastic, Joe. Fantastic. Joe's just letting us know he's starting to see the stuff going on in the cemetery during the day. This makes your life a whole lot more interesting. The only drawback is it's a little hard to turn it off once it's there. Now, who is this? For the moment, now every character, not all gamers come up with proper with acceptable names. Okay. Now they're great for running a character. Now let me ask you this. Does anybody remember the name Oswald Copperpot Chesterfield? I believe he was the third. Okay. Anybody know where that name came from? Okay. Because that was the name of Ozzy's name during the time we were playing Aftermath. Okay. But when I looked at that would have been great. Except for those of you that don't know, that name, bingo. That is exactly what I determined. Ozzy was built with the name, Oswald Chesterfield Copperpot. Now, that said, I couldn't take that name and utilize it as is because, there we go. Because if I had, and I went and wrote the story, I would be up for libel, or not for libel, rather, for copyright infringement. So I took the name and changed it to Oswald Theodore Copperpot III. Okay, now he is the grandfather type person in the party. He's already a senior citizen when the world collapses. Well, no, my apologies. He was only 54 when the world collapses. When the books start, he's 66. So I have this gentleman here. This figure here I'll be using for the time being as Oswald. He's the grandfather. He's the one that goes out of his way to help with the kids, or to help the individuals get ahead, get their feet on the ground. And the other person we met that we got to look at, that's 6. I got to find one more in here. And the reality is the last one is a female. So I'm just looking for, because when we take a look at Tanya, like I said, Tanya was a hillbilly. Tanya I've got. But there's another neat little chap here who's a lot of fun. Okay. Turns out he wasn't the funnest character I ran with. But for the moment, we have this will work for Mickey. Now, Mickey is former military. Okay. Mickey, and the big problem with Mickey is, when, pray tell, did he ever figure out if there was a war going on? He is extremely laid back. You know, the type of people that when you're dealing with them and things get really serious, they crack a joke or something to this effect, meet Mickey. But understand, Mickey is very combat capable. Now, I don't know if I'm going to use him. I'm just looking to see if there's a better option for the moment. Because Mickey is not a big individual. Oh, that plays a much better role. But are we going to be able to find somebody for Mickey? No, I think I'll worry about that later. And we will just take this and use him as Mickey. This gives me all members of the wolf pack in one bin. I will change them as I find ones that are better suited. But bear in mind, I've written a story that takes place after the fall of mankind, after things have gone to heck in a handbasket. But each of these characters have very well developed personalities. Each of them has a backstory. And when you're writing, knowing where the characters come from will make it so much easier for you. But I use the figures so that as a fight breaks out, I can move them and know what characters have done what. Okay, the fact of the matter is, by knowing where they are, I can move them and know if the bar's over here. Let's say I got 2 people at the bar and somebody over here that has decided to cause a problem. He is now going to travel through a whole pile of people. Okay, because like I said, you've got an active bar here. Okay, so we got all these people in here. And I'll set them up. Like I said, I've got 500 and then some of these figures. Okay, but by doing this, I've got a rough and tumble group all laid out. Really should have done that differently. Let's do it this way. Take this, and that should make them show up a little easier. Again, this is the neat part about working with figures, is you can get them laid out properly and figure out what you're doing. That might make it easier. Okay, so I take the figures, lay them out. Now, when I go to start the fight, I got 2 people over here, and this guy wants to start a fight. So, I can describe what's going on as I move him through here. Clearly, this guy's going to have to be taken out. So, during the fight, I'll move him in, stop long enough to write a little bit of the story, lay this character down. Now he can carry on. This is how choreographing works. Okay, as I get the figures done a little more effectively, I will put them aside. Okay, I'm now actually actively looking for figures that fit what I'm looking for. But when we take a look at the miniatures, by painting them, I take figures that are there. We're going to get into some of the other ones here, but I can move them around without losing track of what the fight is. Okay, now, when you're writing a story, it is very important to know what the story is. So, with the birth of the wolf pack, it is literally an issue of get the story written and get the story written where it has a definitive beginning. This becomes Jeremiah entering Casey's Bar and Grill. Okay, and there's a lot about Casey's I'm not about to mix in for you. I absolutely will tell you, I've done as good a job as I can laying out the details in the story. Okay, right now I dug a crater for myself, so it's created some problems. But as I move the figures around, I can develop the coloring of them, paint them the color I like. Where are we? Joe's going, that show on the Talon that you mentioned to me a while ago, when was that show scheduled for? That's not a problem there, Joe. I am just taking a peek there. I've got it written down. Because if I don't write things down, I don't know about you guys, but I tend to forget things too. So let's put those books back up there. And where are we? The Anunnaki were just looking at this. We just did. There we are. Okay. Joe, the answer to your question, I'm writing it into the calendar right now. I postponed it to 1 week, which means that on Jumping Jiminy. Tilt that back a little so you can actually see me. Probably not a great idea, but the show on the Talon is scheduled. Where's my pen? There we go. It's going to be on next Saturday, January 12th, unless I die or something like that. Saturday, January 12th, from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., we will be discussing the Talon. And in that time, I'm going to be putting as much of the little booklet together regarding them as I can get away with. Okay, so mark that one on your calendar, guys. Next Saturday, we're going to be looking at the Talon race. This is an ant-like race. Okay, and they are a very, very unpleasant group. But they don't think like humans. Not that humans are necessarily that pleasant, but that's my personal experience. Okay, but yeah, the Talon are going to be on Saturday, October 12th. Yes, I did, LA. I'm guessing that means I said September. Thank you very much for the clarification. I've got it on my calendar to make sure I stay on track with it, and I'm filling things in as I go along. So I'm taking these figures and sorting them out and going, okay, what represents which characters I'm working with. So I've got the 7 there. Now, with that, as they evolve, I will paint more of the figures. I will get more of it written down. This is one of the big reasons why. Where did it go? That can go there. This little thing here That's my book with all the figures on it. And let's do this. Pen. Like I have told you guys, a clipboard. Oh, oops. Yeah. Okay. No, definitely October 12th. But thanks for catching that, Ellie. Now, I've mentioned to you guys before. Using a list is a way, especially if you happen to suffer from ADD or ADHD. Putting it together on a list will help keep you on track. Now, I got started really late today with getting things done because of the fact that, well, simply put, I slept in. Okay, but the office is complete. Now, I will be meet the tail on. I'm going to do a whole pile of work on that one and get it put together. But it'll be done, the majority of it will be done tonight. Okay, because tonight, well, it's Sunday, so why not? Like I said, it's best to take 2 days off a week, back to back. If you run your own business, or if you're writing a book, or if you're doing whatever, get 2 days where you put it aside and let it go. For me, the 2 days I take off are Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, so I will be dealing with getting Meet the Tail on, the majority of it put together. Now, the other thing, because this way the Elderbachian Chronicles go from the beginning of the third dimension to after the fall of mankind, after the great collapse. Okay, I cover all kinds of things: science fiction, science fantasy, a lot of the things that we've talked about: soulmates, soul families, your life partners, this sort of thing. All of it I am tying together. Okay, what started out as an endeavor to simply chronicle the enjoyable time I had at what we called the Hobbit Hole. Okay, to chronicle that, I started writing The Birth of the Wolfpack. But prior to The Birth of the Wolfpack, I'd written out a timeline for the entire series, and I did it as an English project. As a matter of fact, in the back of The Birth of the Wolfpack. Let's take that. Okay, not on the back of the book, but way back in the back end. Okay, there is a section. Where are we here? There is an appendix called Ilderbach, the story. Okay, this whole story, the whole poem that I wrote, the whole story outline for the original series with very few modifications is in print in the back of that novel. Okay, reason for that was to ensure. Well, let me put it this way: I started writing The Birth of the Wolfpack, and then the girlfriend I had at the time pointed out that it fit in perfectly on the back end of that story. Net result: the whole thing was completed. The whole idea came to light. Okay, so when we are taking a look at that, I've got all these different little pieces coming together. Now, because of the fact that many of the creatures that I'm dealing with are fantastical, okay, they're absolutely bizarre creatures. So, bearing in mind, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since 1976. Okay, I took figures like, where are we? Way down there. Okay, I had actually written a short story. Okay, now, this little figure, I showed him to you the other day. I found the figure, I found the story that I wrote around him. And as it turns out, this chap is going to get fit into the Elderbachian Chronicles. Now, let's take a look at that, shall we? We take a look. Now, Blade is not the one dealing with him, but it'll work. Okay, as I said, Blade is 6 feet. Well, he's actually 6'6". But this is what he's going on, what people are going to have to deal with. This guy comes from way before I ever started writing the Elderbachian Chronicles. Okay, but this figure is the one that I am in the middle of writing. Okay, I wrote the story a long time ago. He's being moved into book 8. So it'll be a few years before you see him. But the story that he was written for is called Awake, or The Awakening. Okay, it's a short story I wrote when I was in high school. Okay, but this was what I described. And when I wrote the story, and I didn't have this figure then. Heck, they didn't even make these figures then. But by putting it down, and by sitting there and looking at it while I'm writing, I can visualize the different maneuvers. Oh, that's going to break off. That's okay, it's only a stand. I do have to check and find out what that character is called. But by putting the figures together, I can get it choreographed properly. And I can see what's happening. So, figures, and what that does when you're writing, what you're doing is you're actually painting a three-dimensional picture. Okay, you're putting a story together. The figures simply make it easier for me to do so. Okay. Hate that. So, figures, the more vivid they are. In other words, let me ask you this. If I've got a character that is just white, okay, you can picture whatever you will. But when I take the figure and I start painting it, now it starts to come to life. Okay, and this way, I can have the character come together and go, this is what I'm seeing. And yeah, I realize my hands get in the way. Okay, that's the path. This is why. What are we doing here? Oh, this is why I do the painting with them. Now, you got to remember, for the longest time, I had a little bit of a problem. Okay, for the longest time, if I relaxed my hand, okay, it would shake like a leaf. And due to the stroke, it's doing that again. Annoying as all get. What's that? 4-7. That's the wolf pack. Again, when you're working on the creative side, stay organized. So they're all, I'm not writing right now, so they're all in the bin. So, I get up here, put it back where it belongs. Okay. But by giving yourself physical form, those of you that are old-time gamers, understand we quite often used to use dice, salt shakers, whatever, to tell where our characters were standing. Then they came out with these figures. Worked out beautifully. As a matter of fact, and there's no way I can set the zoom up properly for it, but when I was still gaming at the Hobbit Hole, the guy that built Ozzy drew this character for me. Now this is Jeremiah, leaned up against the wheels of his, of the Rotel he was driving. Now, Jeremiah was kind of funny. Jeremiah swore when I built him I told the game master right then, Jeremiah did not ask for the world to go to heck in a handbasket. So, I am going to do everything I can to get the best of the best. Now, here's where it gets to be really, really twisted. Okay. Here's where it gets really twisted. Is that right now in my real life, in this corporeal form, I am going after the best of the best. Okay. And for those of you that, because I still get people sending me emails, oh, we should get to know each other. Guys, I am quite happily involved with my other half. Okay. Not looking for a side run. Not looking for a replacement. Okay. And yes, I do constantly am telling her the same thing. Because, well, it kind of is necessary on occasion. I'd love to know it's falling apart, but what the heck. When you go to write, okay, the Birth of the Wolf Pack starts off just with Jeremiah. And then through the course of the book, he pulls together the Wolf Pack. All 7. Okay, you get to meet each one as it develops. And there's a whole pile of other things going on. A lot of flashbacks going on into what was there before. Not the least of which is this. Oh, wonder if I've got him here. Because it just dawned on me. I'm not going to go and try and find him. But I do have a character that I'd already picked out as a primary protagonist. Well, he's not in here. I know which one I want. But to get things, understand that we are talking about people dealing with ancient races and off-worlders. So there are creatures out there that are written into the stories. Okay, this guy is only one. Okay, this chap, there's a whole lot more to him, but he's a lot of fun to work with. So we take him. This character here is somebody that I am in the process of painting. This is representative of one of the other primary people that we're dealing with. The primary antagonist. Okay, by the way, if you're not aware, from my understanding and the terminology I use for it, is the protagonist is the good guys. The antagonist is the bad guys. Now, where do we go? I keep putting these away to stay organized, but... Now get a load of this. Here we are. As we said, here's Jeremiah. Now he is the primary protagonist. He along with the wolf pack. Then we have this chap here. Okay. This guy is the primary antagonist, but you don't see him much. But take a look at the size. Okay. This might give you an idea of the kind of problem that you're dealing with. But by getting the figures, I'll be able to paint them properly. And as I go to describe them, I can go, there it is. Now when I go to write, I can say, yeah, he's got silver horns or silver colored horns. Because, well, take a look at it. He does. Okay. Now, I'm working on a number of different goals at the same time. I take a look at way over there. Now, this funny character. Okay. This thing was a character that, according to the game, the box that I bought, this character is called a subterranean lizard. But, take a look at it. It's got 6 legs. Okay. Now, because of that, I was able to go, okay, this is a subterranean lizard. I built out an entire eco line for it. Okay. But, in the book, I refer to this as a moonicore. Okay, literally, if you take a look at it, this particular critter is a character that people have to deal with. And again, you have Jeremiah, and he's in all fairness shorter than Blade. But here's the lizard he's going up against. Okay, but this is a moonicore. Again, I've got it, so I've got the figure in front of me. I can paint it. I know when I take a look at the back, there's what it looks like. Okay, this thing I already know because I based it on, not on what was in the book. I based this on a modified idea of the Monitor lizard. Okay, again, combining reality with fantasy. What I am curious to know, where are we here? Keep taking my glass off, can't read a thing. Oh, there we are. If you've got questions, if you've got suggestions, absolutely speak up. Okay, I've had a couple of people approach me about having a character in the book, even a backside, even a supporting character, being written into the book. There are a few people that I've done that with. I'm not going to tell you what the names are, but I will tell you one is actually a goat. Okay, this individual asked if I could write her into the story, and I looked at him and went, "Yeah, I can do that fine," because there's a group of people in the Illuminating Chronicles called the Keepers. These are people that got together to protect the animals. Okay, now this little chap is non-sentient. In other words, it is a critter. Okay, it's a lizard. But if you take a look at the size of it, take a normal human, take a look at the size of this thing, you can see where there might be a problem. Okay, bear in mind that all of these characters have backgrounds. Okay, even a lot of the spot characters. And let me see here. I think I've got it up. Yes. I take a look at Phoenix. Okay, we start off with 24. We go all the way down. We got 24 to 38 is 14, 15. All the way down here, we get all the way to the bottom. We have 517, meaning 37, meaning 3, meaning 493 individual characters that are already written into the Chronicles. Okay, now they don't all show up at the same time, but you can see how that many cast members is going to be a problem. Now, I've always had a couple of issues where it comes to movies, writing, that sort of thing. They call people extras when they're acting. I've got a niece that happens to be in the movies. Okay, hasn't really made a break in it yet, but I'm a firm believer that the supporting characters are just as important, if not more so, than the main characters themselves. So much as the Wolfpack in Book 10 is a critical group, they are not the only people that matter. Okay, so we've got this neat little critter here, the Moonicore. Now the thing is, aside from the 6 legs, I based the Moonicore on the Monitor lizard, meaning that mouth of his is chock full of poisons. He himself is not poisonous, but the amount of garbage stuck in his teeth makes his bite highly toxic. Now, then we go over here for a second. I get up so I don't hurt myself, or so I can hurt myself, I'm not sure which. Okay, now we take a look at this little critter. And again, it boiled down to the figure work. Then I had to build what was around it. Now, I'm betting some of you recognize what this critter is. Okay, again, it does come out of D&D. And let's see what I've got here because I brought that up. There we are. William, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I wonder if anybody actually, recognizes this character comes out of Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, this, according to the game, this is a displacer beast. Okay, it is an alien creature, just not the one you're thinking. This was actually a displacer beast. Now, the funny thing there, William, is when we look at the alien creature, as in from the Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver, that is a Cheechak. Okay, and those I've dealt with, but those I've dealt with head on. Okay, this little guy, you'll notice, actually, it may not, but let's see if I can do that. He's got 6 legs as well. So what did I do? I took this critter and went, okay, there's a Viconer. Okay. And again, I figured out my own way to come up with a name. The Viconer and the Viconer and the what do we call it? And the Monocore. Okay. Both come from the same world. Here's the neat part. And this is jumping ahead of myself a little. We have, I don't think that one works. No. These, now I've got another world I'm in the middle of building and crossing over with. But, and I can't tell you the name offhand, but this chap here, okay, very colorful, I realize that. But you'll notice he's got 6 limbs. Okay. And this one also has 6 limbs. All of these guys come from the same planet. Okay. I will tell you this. Real big heads up. They come from another story I'm in the middle of writing. So I need those guys to go. What did I just do with them? Oh. Okay. That's why I got all these bins around. Like I said, these little blue bins come in real handy. Now, these, I don't know the name offhand. I know I wrote it down. But these two are both from the same planet. They go there. So that I can actually keep track of them. Now, the wolf pack belongs up here. Again, the thing with working with figures is it's critical that you keep things organized. It's the same as when you're writing. Okay? Keep the story internally consistent. The figures, I just find, help immensely in making that happen. Oh, for the, William asked the question. I'm going to answer his question. I know he says he's gone. Okay. But yeah, William Graves asked, why an alien? It's not so much why an alien. Okay. When it came to the issue of the alien from the movie, it's because I've run into them personally. Okay. And yeah, I did. I ran into them under much better circumstances than what the movie did. Okay, but this is where my creative side gets out of hand on occasion. So we've got those little critters, all coming from the same place. And then we know we've got giants, okay? We talked about this the other day regarding the Anunnaki, okay? The Anunnaki were simply people that the Anunnaki initially evolved here on Earth, okay? But they didn't have the technology to work with things. When I wrote the Birth of the Wolf Pack, okay, there were things coming back from the olden days. Like I mentioned to you guys, a lot of the creatures I've run into, a lot of the mythological figures that you've heard about or that you've read about are based on reality. Now, when we take a look at a critter this size, I keep putting my box away, and I really shouldn't. Okay, we pull out Jeremiah. Now let's see if that's right. Grab Jeremiah here. Now Jeremiah is just under 6 feet. Well, he's 5'8", so he's fair piece under. You compare him here. We got 5, we got 10. Okay, now this little chap, okay, is alive and well in the series, but they refer to him and many of the others, okay, as tremblers because, well, when they walk, the ground trembles. Okay, from your standpoint, this is a D&D figure indicating a two-headed giant. Okay, and then we've got this type here, which is another one. Okay, but this is a stone giant, still referred to at this point as tremblers, because they vary in size. Okay, so I use these to choreograph, and at one point, I literally have a fight between the tremblers going on that I've got to choreograph. Having the different figures is really handy on that end. Okay. Then we have these guys. Now, again, I pull a lot of the different races. Okay, these guys. Okay, this is an Arborian, also in D&D terms referred to as a treant. Okay, but what I found, especially since I've seen these on Earth, what I found was by bringing reality into the equation, I could turn around and go, okay, let's add a little bit more realism, a little bit more to draw people's attention. Okay, so these are all figures that I use while I'm painting, and you notice a lot of them are partially painted. It's because I haven't been focused. Since I had my stroke, it's been really hard to stay focused. But now it's time to get them tied off. Oh, that just about didn't work well. So, I mean, all in all, I use figures to number one, to really get a clear picture of what the critter is. Like I said, I look at this one, I can glance when I'm writing about him, and I can see, in my mind's eye, I can see him changing position, how the wings, how the tail is maneuvering. Okay, makes it so much easier to organize. Yeah, I don't think I have any up there, but this is why I use figures. Okay, now, one of the things that I will tell you is, in order for a story to hold true, you've got to keep it consistent. You've got to have a start, a middle, and an end. With the storyline, the Birth of the Wolf Pack, it starts with Jeremiah coming into a place called Casey's Bar and Grill. Okay. And inside the book, I've got the floor plan drawn out. Okay. But he comes in there, meets up with a few people, they have certain adventures and what have you. When I first wrote it, there was nothing but combat. I wrote it 250 pages back to back, then had to go in and fill in and flesh out stuff to make it a little bit more all-encompassing, if you will. Net result, it went from 250 pages to 392. Okay, now I'm getting back to doing exactly the same thing. Okay, but, boy, I say that a lot, don't I? When I start writing and getting it organized, it works out so much more effectively. Okay, the one thing that we got to look at is you take a critter like this, people respond to things that look frightening. Okay, it makes the adversarial approach a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit further outside of reality. Okay, making it an entertainment factor. Now, I will tell you, I do my best to keep it moving. Okay, unfortunately, I ran into some serious problems when I had my stroke. I only now have just figured out how to bring that back into balance. Now being yesterday. So, we are looking at a very wide array of things. And again, guys, because I am wide open, and like I told you, I am taking as many people to the top of the totem pole as I can get away with. Okay, this means that any input that I get, any sales I get, I am going to funnel backwards. No, I'm not going to turn all of my profit over. I intend to be making a living at this, but it requires a certain amount of focus. Net result, these guys come into play. But I've had a couple of people, every one of the primary characters was based on a combination of either characters that have been run in various games, or it was based on characters, on people and or situations I personally ran into. Now, there is a UFC fighter by the TV name of Sweet Maria. I actually got her written go-ahead to use her moniker in my story. Okay, my teacher, the English teacher that actually taught me how to write the most. Okay, where the Birth of the Wolf Pack was born. Okay, I tracked her down. I think she's passed now. But before she did, okay, I tracked her down and got her permission to put her actual name in the credits. Okay, same as, so that was my grade 10 English teacher, Mrs. Van Olderbeck. If you're listening to this, you may have known her if you grew up where I did. Okay, but I got her permission. I have got a few people's names, like when I look at where did it go? This book here, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. The guy that taught me how to communicate with people, okay, he taught me, he literally had an interesting past, but I got his go-ahead to put his name in this book, the same as the other people that I got the most guidance from. Okay, got their permission to actually put their name in the book. I didn't bother with the idea of going, oh, I'm just going to throw names out there. I didn't figure that was quite right. One of the biggest things I take a look at, I take a look at the fact I've got this story in my head. It's been here since I was guess I'd have been about 15. Okay, I suspect I was about 15 years old at the time. Okay, because I was, let's see, I'd have been 13 going in, yeah. So I'd have been 13 going into grade 8. Right. And going into grade 10, that would have put me about 15. Okay. But I get people's go ahead. I'm still trying to track some people down. But if you've got an idea for a character that you feel would work, bear in mind, I'm building a storyline that covers literally since the beginning of this third dimension, all the way to the rise of man and beyond, the rise and fall of man. If you've got an idea for a character that you feel would fit, okay, absolutely talk to me. Okay, if you'd like a put in there, this is great. I will tell you, I do not tell anybody who the character is based on. Okay, I really don't. The reason I don't is because it can cause too many problems. But for the individuals that ask about it, again, I can work it in where the person will know this is who their character is. Okay, or who it was based on. Now I've done this with waitresses and waiters. I've done it with scientists, with people from different cultures. Every one of them, I think, save one character. Okay, I've got a character in the Elderbrockian Chronicles by the name of Sawgrass. Now, Sawgrass is a short little sheep. He's only 20 inches tall. But boy, does he get into a lot of trouble. I have no idea where he came from. I was writing away and all of a sudden there he was. I still don't know how he came about. Okay, but he's a riot to write for. So, I've got that going on, and the figures simply help me keep things organized. Now, I got these guys. This gives me a very basic idea. We have another character here that, again, is really, like, he's really small comparatively. Let's not do that. Really small comparatively. Okay. But the figures help keep things organized. So when you look at working with figures, the more colorful you can get them to be, I find, as I get the paints worked out and put on them. Okay, they will be a whole lot better. Okay, like this guy here. When I get him worked on, the majority of his skin will be gray. Okay, and then he'll have the different colored clothing. I'm thinking as it stands right now, I'm just looking at this guy. He's got the black foot wraps, right? A black belt. So what I'm going to end up doing, oh, look at that. I think that is, yep. That'll be like this part here will end up being a black armband. So he'll be gray all over. And then I'll give him some color of tan or, some color of tan. I'm not entirely certain what color. Something to stand out away from the gray and black. Okay. But a natural color. Because that's a loincloth. So I've got to deal with that, and get it the right color to make it look right. The more senses you can involve while you're working with your creative side, the better off your writings are going to be. Okay, and as LA has posted, any of the books that I'm talking about can be acquired through the link at the top of the chat room at buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej. Okay, I am starting to do a lot more with the website as well. Again, it's a learning process. I made the mistake growing up of letting people tell me I had no idea what I was doing. So I turned to them and relied on them. Bad, 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 bad idea. What do we got here? The nice part about it is when you're writing a story, a poem, a song, painting a picture. Okay, the more senses you can invoke, the better off you are, and the better it'll be received. Like when you're watching a movie, okay, do you not enjoy the character that draws your attention and you go, I really want to see what this guy can do? Okay, or that's a really exciting scene because that character makes it happen. Let's face it, you look at Commando. If Arnold Schwarzenegger had not done the job properly, it would not have sold. Now, don't get me wrong. You can bring big name actors in, okay, into a story. Now, here's the funny part, and this is for way down the road. My little brother actually has a production company himself, okay, that he's just trying to get off the ground. So, if he's still got it in business when I start dealing with it, I'm going to turn to him first because, well, let's face it, sometimes it is who you know. Okay, he will not be the best producer available. But I'm a firm believer in giving the newcomers a shot at the big time. People that tell you, don't write, you can't make money at it. I'll tell you, I got 8 books in print, and I would tend to agree. Thus far, I've made virtually no money. Every book that I've got in the self-help series, in the Believe in Your series, every one of these is coming out at $20 in your hand. Okay, $20 inclusive. The books I'm coming out with in the very near future that I'm working on meet the whatever species are going to be about the same size. Okay, but I will the one thing I find with creative work, like let's say that I'm making money. Now, an artist draws something for me. Okay, I pay them what they ask. But once I am making money, I have already worked out percentages to start sending back. So these people can start getting money. The standard rule where it comes to creativity is an artist comes up with a story or with a picture. Okay, somebody buys the picture and they buy the rights to it the whole 9 yards. Then that person that bought the picture goes off and makes millions on it, or even hundreds. But the original artist does not see anything more. I'm not going to permit myself to do that. Of course, the sad reality is, right now, I've got a massive problem. I've got less than a month to figure out how to keep a roof over my head. Okay, book sales are not happening as well as I'd like. Okay, and I wasted thousands on people that literally told me, oh, we've got a company, we can drive sales. You've got an excellent product, excellent content, we can drive sales. I, in my opinion, was an idiot. I took them at their word, time and time again. Okay, so when people come to me now and go, oh, for X dollars I can get you better visibility, understand something. I'm not going that route. Okay, when people help, as the money starts to come in, I will certainly compensate people for their efforts. But here's the thing. Without all these extra people's help, they claimed they were going to do something and never did a thing. I Googled R. Keith Andrews just today. The first 9 listings on the first page were me. Okay, now, I don't know if that's a big deal for other people. For me, it means I'm getting visible. Okay, so realistically, to find out how to get a hold of me, it's actually easy. Type in R. Keith Andrews. Keith, by the way, is spelled Keith. type it into a Google search. You'll find all kinds of ways of getting a hold of me. Okay, it's just that simple. One of the biggest things that we have to realize is creativity boils down to get an idea in your head, start working on it, and start involving as many senses as you can get away with. Okay, now this one, the Moonicore, it's not a perfect paint job by any means, but it's good enough I can sit there and look at it and know exactly what it is. Bear in mind, I didn't paint this guy to resell him. I painted him so that I knew what I was writing about. Same as this one here. I liked the figure. I wrote it into the story. Okay. Now, I will warn you, this guy doesn't exactly come from the Ilderbachtian Chronicles yet. Who knows what will happen in the future at this point. Okay. Now, here we have another little critter. Okay. This one is both in Races of the Worlds, which is that is my reference manual. And what the heck I did with it is right here. This one. Yeah, I'm still working on it, guys. I'll tell you. Because sales have not happened as well as I would like, and I end up going into a massive, here's a 4-letter word for you, went into a massive depression spin. Brought everything to a standstill. But this book, okay, actually this is Races of the Worlds. Do not think. Nope. Okay. It's a reference manual. It's got 60 races in it. Thank you so much, LA. It's got 60 races in it. Volume 2 has another 60. And this neat little chap here, okay, this is an Aurora. Okay. Basically, in D&D you'd call it a wyvern. It's a 2-legged dragon, essentially. Okay. And as you can see, very colorful, but if you're looking at him from below, his wings are blue. You look at him from above, they're green with brown support. Here's the thing. He flies over forest canopies. Okay. If you're looking from below, you're going to see the sky, making this camouflage paint makes him essentially start to disappear, except for the fact his body's red. Okay, but again, when you're doing anything, if you're reading, or if you're writing, if you're painting, if you're drawing, if you're singing, the more senses you can bring to bear, the more attention you're going to keep with the people. Okay, and I'm telling you, from my standpoint, I would love to take all this creative work that I'm doing and start making a viable income. Thus far, it hasn't happened. Okay, but does this mean I'm going to shut down this stream? No. This stream and Positive Perspectives, the magazine, are going to stay in the venue they are. Okay, now it's just a case of starting to get the different figures as I get them painted into Positive Perspectives, because the way I figure it, again, I've gone straight digital with it. I do keep a hard copy of each edition, but they are all going out via email. If you do desire a copy, I call it Positive Perspectives because I refuse to put a whole pile of negative stuff in there. Okay, I figure if you want to get depressed, you want to get, really dejected about life, I can point you into the direction of all kinds of newspapers that do it. I just as soon not do that to you. Okay, but I am on the constant lookout for different critters. I will tell you, I take inspiration from my own memories and from what I see from other people. Okay, when people talk to me, sometimes they stand out. Okay, there was one of the supporting characters in the Walking Chronicles is a young lady by the name of Rhonda. Now, I will tell you, she was based on somebody I knew a long time ago. Very bubbly, very carefree. All right, really weird person. I really thought she was a very loopy person, but she had the perfect personality for a demolitions expert. Okay, completely looped. So I turned around and wrote her right into the story. Okay, now I'm going to use a call out from an old series. Okay, I believe it was called Dragnet, but the catch to it was the names of the people and places have been changed to protect the innocent. The people I write into my stories do not get written into, on the whole, by their own name. Okay, and the one person that I got permission to put her name in the story, okay, I did get her permission to do it. Now, what I've done because of that is both because she gave me that go ahead. Both of the books that character ended up in, she ended up with a copy of. Okay, now have I made enough money to start paying people back? Clearly not. Now I know I've been told by some people, we support you because we know when you make it, we're going to actually be brought along. This is very much the truth. The sad reality, and this is going to sound like fear mongering or the sympathy card. I'm not kidding. Okay, I took a look at my blood pressure this morning. Okay, now where did I put the writing? I took my blood pressure this morning because I was a little concerned with it. Right, with the way I was feeling. There we are. Now, this morning when I got up, my blood pressure was. Bear in mind, I got up, was moving around a bit, but my blood pressure was. God, that was a lot. Yeah, was 130 over 80, with a pulse of 86. Okay, now that for me, it's a little high, but not really when you think of not too terribly bad. But I took a look at that. If I go to the doctor with that, doctor's going to tell me your blood pressure is a little high. Here's a pill. Okay, but they're not going to panic. They're going to look at it and go, we're not going to worry about it. So I'm not going to the doctor. I am keeping an eye on my blood pressure right now. Okay, but I'm just keeping an eye on it to make sure it stays stable. My pulse was sitting at 86, but like I said, I'd gotten up and moved around the house a number of times up and down the hall. When I'm writing, when I write my journal, I include as much as I can. Okay, when you're writing a creative prose, whether it's a story, a short story, a novel, a poem, okay, anything creative or a play or a screenplay, involve as many senses as you can. I will tell you, since I started painting figures to get an idea of what I was writing, it is so much easier to stay focused on the storyline. Okay, now these 7 that I've got in here in the wolf pack, I will be changing them out as I get the characters I really desire to have. Okay, I'm not worried about whether or not I'm infringing on copyright because, yeah, the figures I'm painting, I'm not reselling this. I painted it. In time, maybe something will happen. But I bought the figure, painted it. I can write what I'm seeing. Okay, and if you take a look at it, whoop. Okay, take a look at the size of this guy's hand. Okay, now I take that. See what happens when I take a look at it when I put that there? All of a sudden, you're now getting a much clearer picture on how big this guy is. Okay, so this is what I work with, is how do you bring this to life? And the more I can bring it to life by describing sounds, smells, tastes, okay, the interaction of the people, the sound of flesh on armor or sword on flesh, the more senses I can incorporate, the more that story is going to take hold. Okay, the idea of writing a novel, a poem, a short story, the idea is to help people really look at something beyond the mundane. Okay, if you're looking for stories on the mundane, that's where this comes in. Okay, believe in yourself and follow your dreams. I will tell you, many of you have been told, oh, yeah, you take a story and get this. When I started looking for publishers, boy, was I an idiot. Okay, absolutely dumber than a fence post. You send out the average, from what I gather, is you send out transcripts to a bunch of different publishers. And the example I was given early on, you send out 100 manuscripts. Now, bear in mind, you're footing the bill to get them printed. You did the work to write them. Okay, what's going to happen is this. You turn around and you send it out to them. If out of 100 publishers, you get 3 responses, you did well. Thank you very much, LA. We're down to the 15-minute mark. Okay, you did really well. What I'm doing, because I'm building Inner Voice Enterprises, is already listed as a publishing company. Okay, with this in mind, what I am putting out there is, if you got a story that you desire to have printed, story, a poem, short story, novel, don't care. I will tell you this. I will not touch adult erotica. Okay, not gonna happen. I will touch, now I will publish virtually everything. Okay, but it will be done in a certain fashion. If you're just looking to get it published, to get it into print and what have you, I am working out a given price for it. Okay, where I can make money by sell, but I will get from you the written go ahead for me to sell that book, and me make money off it. You'll still get money. Okay, but if I'm going to do it, I'm not doing it for free. Okay, I will have a static price for everybody. If there's no editing involved, then it'll be just one price. Take it, put it to print. If it's got spelling errors, that's your issue. Okay, if I'm going to go through it and do basic editing, then looking for spelling errors, that sort of thing, I'll have another price. Okay, and I've already been told by my own editor that if we go down that road, she will charge, but she's suggested that I lay it out as working out an actual price per page, and then just go, there's what it's going to cost you. I'm still going to be making money off it, but you will retain total rights. I will then have it laid out so I can only print it as is. Okay, as is. And I will get it put out, I think, in whole or in part, so I can take excerpts and print them out as they're listed. Okay, in order to make things work. But I'm tired of hearing people go, I had a story I wrote. Well, I wrote a story, and I was told it wasn't good enough. Or I want to get my painting into the public works, but I'm told I'm not talented enough. Let me ask you, where it comes to painting, can you pick up a bucket of paint, walk towards a wall, trip, and spill the paint on the wall, put a frame around it, and call it Pam? Would you call that? Can you manage to do that? I watched a guy, and I kid you not, he took a standard white piece of canvas, painted it off white, okay, framed it in baseboard, I'm going to call it curbing, but you get the idea, in the baseboard edging, curved it in that, called it whiteout, and sold the thing for $1 million. Now, this was not a mainstream artist I knew. Okay, but if somebody can do that, why can't you? I don't recommend that. Personally, way beyond people's talent, if you ask me. Same with writing. Okay, a screenplay. I watched somebody take stick men and get them put on syndicated TV. Okay, stick men of all things. Can you draw that well? Okay, I'm telling you, this is the problem. Yep, it was intended that way. Unfortunately, LA's just going sarcasm alert. That was a very intense piece. Absolutely, but here's the kicker. Unfortunately, much as it comes across as sarcasm, it was actually a real event. Okay, it's kind of like the idea that, when you were in school and somebody, a kid comes to the teacher and says, I'm sorry, teacher, I don't have my homework because my dog ate it. Sounds like an absolutely flimsy excuse until you find out the dog ate it. Okay, but what I'm getting at is every one of you, the idea is that everybody has a story, everybody has a poem. I intend on being that one publisher that will take other people's stuff and get it into print. I will tell you, I am not a professional marketer. I will do what I can. I'm learning what I can. I will do what I can to make it work. But the reality is I got 8 books in print that I haven't done that yet. Okay, so with that in mind, I will absolutely tell you, I will get it printed. There's no problem. But I won't do it for free. Where it comes to marketing, you'll still have 100% total right to do it. I just will have the right to sell it myself and thereby make money off it. And yet, you'll still earn a chunk of it. But that's all got to be drawn up by a lawyer to make sure it's done right. These are just some of the things I'm working on. Okay. With this in mind, the other thing I am working on, I've already got all of it laid out. If you have a way of spreading word that these books are available, and somebody comes to me and says, look, I found out through Bob that you had this book. Can I get a copy? I keep track of it because I track word of mouth advertising. Okay. And I do have it worked out. I'm not selling the method to anybody. But I do have it worked out where as sales happen, I will be able to start making, start passing information and passing money out. Okay, my problem is that right now, I've got to be able to keep a roof over my own head. And I figured out just today, I went through the numbers. I literally have just enough income, hopefully coming in, to keep a roof over my head for the next 2 months. After that, it's a gamble. Okay? And yes, for the first time in my life, I am going to go, this is what I'm looking at, and this is literally the problem. Now, fortunately, right now, if you choose to give me a hand, this would be great. The Buy Me a Coffee link will enable you to do that. I'm not shutting down this stream or my social media, or for that matter, the free magazine. They are all staying active. And I am pushing to start growing things. You know, the important factor here is creativity is a real thing that you really can make an income off. Okay, I don't know about you, but this idea of waiting for somebody else to do it hasn't worked out well for me. You know, I am curious if any of you have a book that you're interested in getting to print. I know of a couple that have already approached me. Not gonna tell you their name. Don't ask. Okay. If and when somebody says absolutely, use my name, let people know that I got it done through you. Absolutely, I'll do so. But until I get that in writing from somebody, I'm not doing it. This is also why when people ask me who I run into, who taught me this, I don't tell people. If I've heard a story from somebody, I won't tell people this is what that person said. This is why when people go, hey, have you seen any hybrids in, like, I got asked this in Spaced Out on Friday. I was asked if I had seen any hybrids come through the chat room. And I literally told people, I said, have I seen things? Yeah. Am I going to name names? Not a prayer. Okay. That's just not the way I operate. But I will tell you, I got so much going on up here. There we go. I've got so much going up in my head. If you desire to kind of do, to get a book published through me, absolutely talk to me. I'm working on pricing. Okay. Same as a poetic anthology and an anthology of short stories. That's being worked on, as well as PDFs of the books we've got. Now, like I said, the more senses you can include. This is why I work with figures while I'm writing. The more senses you can include, the better your writing impact is going to be. Okay, but we are at the 5-minute mark. So with this in mind, thank you very much for your assistance there, LA. With this in mind, I'm going to wind this down. I will be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow is Monday. What are we looking at? Oh, okay. Tomorrow is Monday. We're going to go take a walk down, shall we say, the modern world, and take a look at where we are now, and look at where do we go from here? What are our options? How are we going to manage to do it? Okay, the nice little part of it is that we're going to look at that and open a whole pile of new doors. Until we talk again, which is tomorrow, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. PST. Okay, that will be on October 7th. Okay, until then, take care.